Greetings once again, everyone. This is a less hairy Justin, and this right here, that's a hairy Nick.
It is indeed a hairy Nick and a less hairy Justin. Welcome back to the Hangar Bay, our weekly show where we talk about your submitted X-Wing lists, and here in the Season 2-ish of the Hangar Bay, which I have sort of just randomly allocated at a certain point, we've gotten through an entire cycle of all the factions.
Yeah, so we're back again to Random
Wildcard Week, indeed. Where we just take a look at whatever we feel like. Basically lists that we've had submitted that don't really fit into any other video, and we're probably not going to imminently talk about the ships they focus on, or they have a weird janky strategy involving a lot of ships, that kind of stuff. Especially with the patrons, because we get some patrons who only submit a small amount of lists on the Discord, and we don't always get a chance to talk about them. And I want to make sure that we give all the patrons a shout out. If you want to be part of that, the link down below for the patron Discord. If you want to be part of that and help support the channel, also get a bit more recognition on these Hangar Bay videos and have a bit more of a discussion about list building, that kind of stuff.
Your name goes up at the end of every
Indeed.
episode. There's so many things that you can do.
Indeed. All explained in the link down below. For the time being, let's take a look at some lists that just use anything and everything within the game of X-Wing. If you would like to submit a list for us to have a look at in one of these Hangar Bay episodes, simply copy all of the text, including all pilots and upgrades, into a comment down below in one of our YouTube videos. Please also be sure to include a link to that squad within your favourite squad builder. Now, if you're unsure how to do this, simply head over to Yet Another Squad Builder 2.0. They have a fantastic squad builder built into this website. You have drop-down menus that can help you find all the upgrades and everything that's legal for the ships that you want to build with, as well as a simple text viewer that you can use to copy out all the text. And if you're part of the Patreon Discord, put all of this into the relevant list submission channel on that. Every week here, we are sure to include one patron list, so if you're part of the Patreon Discord, it means you have a much higher chance of being featured in one of these videos. First up, by the patron Sir Thomas No More, this is... That was good.
I like it.
I enjoyed that. We got a bunch of Auzitucks, 4 to be exact. 3 Kashyyyk Defenders and Wolf Warrow.
Yeah, now the Kashyyyk Defenders have nothing on them.
That's right. Wolf Warrow has Selfless and Hull Upgrade.
Yeah.
Seems good.
A lot of Auzituck gunships on the board there.
So it's reminiscent of Magic Carpet Ride from first edition, which was 4 of the generic Auzitucks with the Wookiee Commandos. There were the Wookiee Commandos was... on offense, you could reroll a focus result or something to that effect.
It took 2 crew slots as well.
That's right. It was only 1, but it was a weird design for a card. Cool, but weird. It was very, very, very light offensive mods, but it was completely passive and had enough of a strike rate that it was worth taking as a 1-point upgrade. Rarely worth it in like a Falcon or something that had 2 crew slots because there was always something more relevant. But if you only had 1 point, that was pretty decent. Now, we don't have that in 2nd edition. The art has been used on, I think it's like Perceptive Copilot or one of them. Yeah,
I don't remember.
There's no Wookiee Commandos anyway, so you can't go doing that stuff. Instead, we have Selfless on Wolf Warrow. I'm trying to think, if I was facing this list...
What would you take out first?
Would I just hammer Wolf Warrow? I think I might... I'm a nutbag though, so...
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. By taking Wolf Warrior out, it is worth, what? A bit less than 20 points.
It means they're going to shoot you back with more power, but if you take him off the board quick enough, especially if you target the other ones and he just ends up taking the damage and then only after 2 rounds you can activate Wolf Warrow. I feel like just proactively going for Wolf Warrow and hammering through the entire lot of Hull is probably what I'd do. And from that point of view, I think Hull Upgrade is actually a strong choice here. I'm not usually a fan of Hull Upgrade, but I think if there's some kind of synergy that makes it work...
I feel like Hull Upgrade and Shield Upgrade, they work really well on certain ships or with certain abilities, like Wolf Warrow, Quick Draw with the Shield Upgrade.
That's right.
I can't think of any more off the top of my head.
Oh, there are a few more for sure. But Hull Upgrade and Wolf Warrow... specifically is better than the shield upgrade because you want to not be shielded, so you don't want to prolong the period where you are not shielded, but this way you're prolonging the period where you are unshielded but still alive.
Yeah.
So
seems good. Now,
Can't fault it.
so you can't take Saw Gerrera here because he's worth 9 points and we're already at 200.
You have to change one of the Auzituck gunships down to a different ship to put Saw on Wolfwaro. It stacks more points on Wolfwaro, puts him over 70 points, and that feels a bit dangerous. So I am actually not a huge fan of doing that in this list, although I do like Saw Gerrera and Wolfwaro in general.
Yeah.
I feel like the selfless strategy with the 4 of ships and they've all got 8 health each, I believe. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Which is really, really good. So you take like a cheaper X-Wing or something instead of one of those other type gunships. You've got less hull overall to shoot through.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you've got 1 agility. If you just have a lot of health on the table, some lists just can't deal with that well. They just don't have a lot of firepower.
Also, you could consider maybe putting Zeb on Wolfwaro.
Yes, as a crew.
That means that you can then shoot at range 0 if you want.
Yeah, if we take off one of these upgrades, you could think about Zeb Aurelius in the attack shuttle if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
Because it's a 3 red dice attack, and that could free up some points to put stuff elsewhere. Look, honestly, I feel like if you want to do 4 Auzitucks, I'm pretty happy with this. Like, there's nothing that really jumps out at me. Like, we're just spitballing ideas, and I don't think anything we're thinking of is, like, strictly better than what's going on here.
No.
And it's kind of cool. Is it better or worse than Magic Carpet Ride? There's really something to be said about having symmetrical builds across all 4 ships, which you haven't done here. I mean, you could if you put, like, random crew on each. I don't want to do that, really, with the options we have available.
No.
There's nothing quite like the Wookiee Commandos from first edition to sort of switch out there. There's fun stuff we can do, but I like this approach. And
So do I.
I feel like, I'd probably shoot Wolfwire first, but I feel like there's enough upside that's okay. Good idea for a list. Thank you for that, Sir Thomas No More. And this other patron list we have here by Dutch Oven X. This is a fun idea with Ketsu, Guri, and the Jakku Gunrunner on the Scum faction.
Yeah, now Ketsu has Fearless, Perceptive Copilot, and the Shadowcaster title.
Guri has Outmaneuver and Advanced Sensors.
And the Jakku Gunrunner has Unkar Plot.
So there's a decent amount to unpack here. I find all 3 of these builds very, very interesting. It's balanced very similarly to like Boba Fett plus Old Terok or Guri plus L3. You've got the same sort of point structure going on there. 84 points for Ketsu is very much the Boba Fett range. So by all means, if you like the look of this, there's no reason why you can't just switch out Boba Fett if you really want to do that. Ketsu does a very different role in that she's trying to track to things, get value that way. I'm not entirely sure why she's got Perceptive Copilot.
Yeah, you can't pass the focuses off or anything.
No, there's nothing like that. I mean, it's a decent value card. It is 8 points, and it is really eating into a bid when you have a couple of Initiative 5, so be wary of that. You could just cut it entirely and have a 10-point bid, which seems pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
I like Fearless on this build, Initiative 5. Very good dial, 3 red dice primary, so you can make good use of Fearless.
I was just thinking maybe consider putting Kira.
Yes.
And then that way you can forget about putting...
Perceptive Copilot, yeah, that saves another 6 points.
Yeah.
Kira is really good on a ship with, like, Trick Shot. Being able to ignore rocks is really good with, like, Slave 1 and, everything that you chuck on that Fire Spray build or Han Solo. Just running Kira for value actually feels pretty good because she's only 2 points.
And then you're still able to fly over those rocks because it is a large base.
And then you could take Trick Shot. Just putting it out there.
Trick Shot has got far more expensive, though.
It's 1 more point. It's 1 more point than Fearless, is my point.
Okay.
So it would bring the list to 193 if you had Kira and Trick Shot instead of Perceptive Copilot and Fearless. It's an option. You want to do that sort of janky... Well, it's not janky. It's actually quite consistent. That little trick that Boba Fett does. It's great. It's really good. But if you don't want to... Perceptive Copilot's good. I always feel like when I look at it in lists, it feels like FFG costed it in a way that it's taking into account its best combos. So when you're just running it for value, it's like, I don't really know if it's really pulling its weight for 8 points there.
But Kira for 2 points feels pretty good.
Yeah, and like Hero's not always going to be relevant every single match. She's 2 points. Who cares? Sometimes you're going to have situations where you can't focus, and then your perceptive co-pilot just looks terrible. So be aware of that. Going down the list, Guri outmaneuver advanced sensors. Yeah, I love this.
Yep,
I love this.
That's just good.
Yep, absolutely. Another fun thing you can do is Guri outmaneuver and collision detector, which is 4 points less. It's something I've tried myself. It's very trolly, but it's a lot of fun. I prefer advanced sensors in general on Guri, but I have to say, in my own experience flying it, advanced sensors is really cool. But if you just don't get the positioning right, you just do a lot of fancy flying with no tokens. And your ship blows up. And it's rough.
Bad.
Against Initiative 6 aces, it's ultimate feel bads. Yeah. But against Initiative 6 aces, I actually quite like Collision Detector because you can move into positions that some ships just can't do. You can literally outmaneuver ships in such a way that they can't counterfly you. Now, yeah, you can do it with advanced sensors as well with the curved barrel roll before you move. Yes, but specifically getting behind rocks. It's
a different way of going about it.
It's a different way of going about it, but it is 4 points less. That's why I would consider it. Again, look, if you can make major cuts on a list that has 2 initiative 5s, especially with Guri, big time, big time, big time. You want that bid. You want that bid. And the Jakku Gunrunner running Hangar Bay in the crew. I quite like that, actually. Being able to bump, take the damage, and then track to that ship immediately. Seems very handy, especially in a list with Guri. Positioning matters with Guri. She wants to be within range 1 of an enemy ship at the start of combat.
Yeah, so running into things feels pretty good.
Yep, also with Ketsu alongside that as well. If you're coming up against medium ships, there's actually a decent chance you can track to them.
Yeah.
Between being in the bullseye firing arc of the Jakku Gunrunner, or like Ketsu's ability or the Shadowcaster ability, doesn't feel unrealistic, even to track to large ships.
Yeah.
It's something you can do.
Just quickly, we could also consider putting Pattern Analyzer on the Jakku Gunrunner.
Yeah.
Because you've got those red...
The reverse
maneuvers?
Yeah, for sure. Does it have full stop? I don't remember. I haven't flown this in 2nd edition yet. No, it doesn't. But it does have S-loops as well.
Yeah.
At speed 2. Yeah, that is...
And a 2 backwards. Goodness.
Yes, indeed. I believe it was already from 1st edition. Or I might be imagining it. It was the original ship to do reverse maneuvers.
Yeah.
So I think it does it better than other ships. Also, it is worth thinking about Hangar Bay in the pilot seat instead of the crew seat. Would be a total cost of 1 point less. It's a bit of a different approach. It means you can fly this more aggressively, get a bit more upside. It also gives you a bit more agency to proactively track to your opponent, which I quite like.
Yeah.
Remember, with Jakku Gunrunner, Hangar Bay, Hangar Bay's handy because in the situation where you get blocked, you can then take a damage to do an action. You're probably not going to get blocked on your Initiative 1 ship, though. It's harder to block them.
Yeah.
I mean, there are situations where you might do it intentionally, just ramming into one of your opponent's ship, or you don't have any option but to ram into one of your opponent's ship. However, there's a little bit less upside than Hangar Bay would otherwise have. I mean, I don't like putting him on pilots like Boba Fett or Han Solo, but you can see how he's got more value if you do that. You can bump, and like with Han Solo, you could rotate the arc and get shots out the side and that kind of stuff.
It's a good idea.
It is good. I mean, it's not better than things like Kira and all that kind of stuff, but just, playing devil's advocate, that kind of scenario illustrates how good Hangar Bay can be.
Yeah.
Putting him on the Initiative 1 Jakku Gunrunner, I think it remains to be seen how powerful that is. It's interesting. I quite like him in the pilot seat. That's what I'll say there. I just feel like that's what I'd be going for. But there's a lot to play around with here. I think these 3 pilots are solid. The Quad Jumper has done really well in the meta before it had the points increase. That was the first points increase. And it hasn't really done much since. But I think in a less sort of just throw 2 of them in a list kind of style, and something more like this where you actually add a few more points on and get a bit more value out of it. Seems okay. This next list is by Vitor Periara.
Perrier?
Where we don't know this word. Vitor, please tell us how your last name is pronounced. It's a very pretty last name. I just don't know how to say it. I do apologise, but we have a bunch of lambda-class shuttles here. We have Colonel Jendon, Lieutenant Sai, Captain Kagi, and an Omicron group pilot.
Yeah, now Colonel Jendon has fire control system.
Actually, all of the named pilots do.
Yeah. And the Omicron pilot has Director Krennic and Grand Moff Tarkin.
Which is always a nice little combo. Krennic gives the platform target locks, and Grand Moff Tarkin allows you to abuse those target locks to just power out extra awesome bonus target locks and do all kinds of crazy stuff.
So, next wave we will be getting targeting computer.
Yes.
Which may be cheaper than Director Krennic, which still gives you an option to have Grand Moff Tarkin. But Krennic is only 4 points.
Krennic is only 4 points. I really do think the targeting computer is going to be at least 5.
Yeah, how did Krennic only be 4 points?
How did Krennic only be 4 points?
Because not only does he give the target lock, he also gives the optimized prototype.
It's because the archetype kind of struggles.
Yeah.
And FFG just gave it a big push, basically.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Also, we have a system where passive senses is only 3 points. And it feels like targeting computer should be cheaper than both of those cards. It's strictly worse than Director Krennic if you ignore the upgrade type because it's a target lock but nothing else, and Krennic gives you more apart from that. And passive senses feels like it's a bit of a downgrade on that too because you get to target lock at the start of combat rather than when you activate, which gives low initiative ships a bit of a leg up. So targeting computer, I mean, maybe FFG are saying 2 points and that's okay. I mean, maybe the environment's just okay to do that. Seems a bit dangerous.
Especially when we start looking at interceptors with it on and things like that.
I think tie interceptors with it is fine in general, but for 2 points, it feels like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It would make use of all those mod slots they have. I mean, got to grant that, I suppose.
Yeah.
Kirax doesn't want it. Hawk doesn't want it. Yeah, they're the only one that has all those mod slots that aren't really making use of them, so if that gives them a bit of a leg up, that's okay, but maybe then Suntir's got to be a bit more expensive as well. Maybe it'll be costed against initiative. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. Bottom line is, it's probably going to give you a cheaper buy-in than Director Krennic will. Whether Krennic goes up in points, whether it's costed lower on this particular pilot, that's probably going to be the case, which makes a list like this a bit more tantalising. I will say, just having a look at these choice in pilots, I like all of these except for Kagi. Kagi allows you just to pull all the target locks off your friendly ship onto himself, and there's really no reason to do that in this list.
Yeah, I suppose realistically you could just go down to an Omicron.
That's right. Save another 5 points as well.
And that then gives you points to spend on crazy things.
Yeah.
Anythings.
Yes, I'm looking particularly at things like the ISB Slicer. Could be a handy one to have as a bit of a tertiary game strategy.
Another way to keep the stress on there.
You could put on Sexy Old Agent Callus if you really wanted.
Sexy Callus, man.
You could put on Informant. Informant's not crazy. I mean, Informant's okay alongside those reinforcers. You get a better idea of where your opponent's ship's going to be. It's
maybe
great for 5 points. There are things that you can do with 5 points. I just don't think Captain Kagi is really doing anything. He's designed to go alongside aces and make sure that your opponent can't keep target locks on like Sunterfell and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think he's a particularly high priority target in this list, so I don't think...
So there's one ship that's worth more than him with being
the Omicron pilot,
Yeah, so you'd rather go for that first, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I suppose. Or Kagi's a more tantalising target than Sai and Jendon.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go for Kagi, then his ability does nothing. That's the problem. And he's already like the second most expensive ship on the list. Yeah. Whatever. I just don't think there's any value there.
No.
I do want to talk about this in general because 4 lambdas is kind of fun. There was a similar list running around in first edition with a bunch of lambdas and Wampa. And Wampa was flown alongside, in the crew slot in one of the lambdas, Emperor Palpatine. Yes. Which made a combo called Wampatine.
Yeah, now what happened was Wampa said that you could clear all your results provided there was a critical in one of them and deal 1 face down damage going through shields and everything like that. So what would happen is you'd use Emperor Palpatine, say one of these is going to be critical, and bam.
It worked before and after the errata on Emperor Palpatine as well. So even if it was a situation where you had to guess beforehand, just say crit, roll your dice and just pick him up and give him a card. We don't have guaranteed results like that in second edition. It's not something that FFG really encourages anymore.
But now with second edition, we do have a back arc on the...
Yes. I actually think that's pretty good. I would trade 1/14 for that.
Yeah.
Also, I love the ultra efficiency of the target locks on this list. So this weird convoluted way of getting target locks on everything is Genid can allow the Omicron group pilot to get a target lock from any range at the start of the game. Then Grand Moff Tarkin gives it to all the other lambdas.
Yeah, and then you can then use fire control system just to keep going through.
That's right. Yep. Also, if you save points on Captain Kargi, you can have fire control system on all of them, which makes it even better. And then you're just rolling with 4 ships, 3 red dice attacks with rerolls. Until the point where your opponent gets behind your ship, it's going to happen. Yeah. You're not going to be able to turn around. But you still have a 2 red dice attack, and that's okay. Yeah. It's got more firepower than something like 4 Auzitucks in general, but Auzitucks can turn around a lot better.
Also, they've got the 180 just straight ahead as opposed to
the
forward
2
and back.
One more thing I will say here, I really like Lieutenant Sai in this list. The action economy, just a little bit more, getting those reinforcers out feels just really, really solid. Really, really solid.
So, I suppose, you can use either reinforce or focus with...
Fine.
Yeah,
and
feels good.
If you have an informant on the list, it's going to make those reinforcers better, but just in general, focus is great. Just powering those out as extra actions, then lots of ships are going to be focused and target locked nice and consistently. Yeah. You're going to get good odds on your attack dice, and you're going to want to because these ships don't have more than 1 green dice, and they'll blow up if you don't kill your opponent's ship fast enough. The idea with this list is they should. And I like that. And we have one final list here by Will J. This is a Separatist list with Wat Tambor, DBS 404, and the 3 Techno-Union bombers.
Yeah, now Wat Tambor has Kraken and the Soulless One title.
DBS 404 has plasma torpedoes.
And the Techno-Union bombers have energy shell charges.
So, something that's focusing on the Hyena bombers, a new ship that we just got on the Separatists.
Yeah.
Yes, so the theory is here, if you had, it would be 4 vultures instead of those 3 hyenas. It wouldn't 24 points each, so 4 of them works out to 96 points. See, that's how fast I can think.
Yeah.
And that will fit in this list. So Vulture, as in Trade Federation drones with energy shell charges, you can do 4 of them instead of 3 Techno-Union bombers. I probably err on the side of the Vultures, simply because hyenas are basically vultures with a bit more health at the end of the day, and getting more ships on the table means you shoot your opponent more times.
That's true.
Just raw amount of attack is a pretty huge thing in X-Wing.
Yeah, now we do have 10 points here that we can use on upgrades.
That's right. There's a lot of things we can do here, actually.
You could consider upgrading Wat Tambor to General Grievous.
Absolutely.
You've then got 2 Initiative 4s with 404 and Grievous themselves.
That feels pretty good.
Yeah.
I would consider, on these Techno-Union bombers, changing over energy shells for ion torpedoes.
Yeah.
For 1 more point, you get a more powerful attack, and you have other ships on your squad that can take advantage of that positioning. In fact, you can totally just switch over Wat Tambor for General Grievous and upgrade the energy shell charges to ion torpedoes. That is very tantalising. Now, Grievous is very different to Wat Tambor.
Yes.
He wants to fly around the side doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I get it. But he also takes a lot of advantage from positioning. And if you're firing ion torpedoes at your opponent, you've got a nice bit of synergy there.
That's true.
Indeed. I will say I love plasma torpedoes in DBS 404.
Yeah, that's good.
Covering all the ranges just feels really, really solid.
Yeah.
DBS 404 allows you to fire at range 0. And if you're at range 0 or 1, so in other words, at range 0 or 1, you get the bonus from his card, which gives you another attack dice and suffer a crit. Who cares? That's what he's meant to do.
Yeah.
Or at range 2 to 3, you fire plasma torpedoes. It all feels really good.
So yeah, either way, you're throwing 4 red dice, which feels good.
Yeah, that's it. That's great. And also you can take the calculate tokens off your other friendly ships. Yeah, I really feel like just putting energy shell charges on hyenas is not enough of an upgrade over vulture droids to justify the extra investment. What is it? Another 6 points to turn them into a hyena, which feels okay for 2 hull, but when you could just get more vultures on the table...
Yeah, and that then gives you a 2-point bid at the end. You can then just chuck something small on somewhere. Yeah, and with those final 2 points, you could put Treacherous onto Grievous.
Yeah, for sure.
That then means that he's going to survive that little bit longer.
There's a lot to do here. I mean, ultimately, this list was submitted with a 10-point bid. I don't think it needs it.
No.
You have an initiative 3 and a 4. Whatever. Spend the points. Actually get some value out of it. And I think the key thing I want out of the Hyena Bombers is to actually justify the investment in a Hyena Bomber by giving it actual real ordnance over energy shell charges. Energy shell charges is kind of like just like a one-off little extra better primary attack. That's the way I think of it. That's why I love it on the Vultures, because you can spam so much of them and get so much value out of all those extra red dice. But for one more point, you have access to a pretty decent torpedo. So if you're taking Hyenas, I think that's what you honestly should be looking at. And the key thing here is, DBS 404 with a bunch of really cool stuff around him. It's a pretty cool ship.
Yeah, I actually don't mind just him only having the plasma torpedoes. It actually feels pretty good.
Yeah, if we can get some really cool... I'd love to see DBS 404 do well in tournaments, because it looks like the ultimate troll card.
I so wanted to fly him for the System Open in Australia coming up, but had to keep with my beloved First Order.
And that's ultimately it. You think about different approaches to way you build lists. I don't think this is the kind of thing that would do well in tournaments, but I'd love for it to.
Yeah.
It'd be really, really cool. Once again, thank you so much for that submission and all the submissions we get. So we do one of these wildcard weeks once in the rotation of all the factions. So if you submit a list that doesn't really fit anywhere else, there's a place for it. And that's the key thing. We want to encourage you all to submit whatever lists you want. We do, before every other week, apart from this wildcard week, announce on the channel community tab what we talk about each week. So if you want to make any last minute submissions there and directly submit lists for that, that's great. But once again, just submit random lists. We want them, we love them, and we find them very interesting.
Yeah, now just quickly, next week will be the Scum.
Indeed. So we're going to use the same rotation that we used last time round. So next week will be Scum. I have no indication what the patrons are going to pick, so just submit whatever Scum lists you want, and about roughly 24 hours beforehand, I'll make an announcement on the community tab, so you can submit any list for that specific ship when we get that submitted.
Yeah.
In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Reddit, and above all else, if you want to, please consider supporting the Patreon as well.
Keeps those lights on.
Indeed. It's the best thing sort of monetarily for the channel right now. It's way better than YouTube ad revenue. I know I go on about it, but look, there's a good reason for that. It's all down in the link in the description. Thank you so much to all of the existing patrons. You guys are awesome. We'll catch you in the next video.
Bye.